As a lot of you know, I've tried an absolute ton of products from AliExpress, but one AliExpress product I've never tried before is a turbo trainer. Anyway, someone from AliExpress got in touch recently asking if I'd like to take a look at this ThinkRider turbo trainer to see if it's any good and if it can earn my recommendation. So I said yes, send it over and let's take a look. Quick disclaimer before we get started, AliExpress have sponsored this video to promote one of their latest sales. However, every opinion on this turbo is 100% my own. So let's get it out of the box and get testing it. So the first thing that's really struck me about this turbo after getting it out of the box is just how solid the build quality is. It weighs an absolute ton and there's absolutely no moving that anywhere. Like, it's proper solid on the ground. So I'm thinking even when I'm doing sprints at my measly sort of 900 to 1000 watts, it's gonna stay put and not be sliding all over the garage. Sometimes when you're on like a lightweight turbo and you do a sprint, they can end up sliding all over the show and it does feel a bit unnerving. But yeah, this feels super solid with the big, wide, heavy metal feet that I don't think there's gonna be any problems sprinting on this. I've got it set up with the through axle adapters and I'm gonna throw my Shimano 105 cassette on it, ready to give it a test. Now, like the Cyc Plus turbo I checked out a few weeks ago, this also uses a brushless motor design to provide the resistance. So it'll be interesting to see how they compare. But first impressions for the price, yeah, this seems excellent build quality, like really heavy, solid, loads of metal in the construction. The plastics all feel well finished and well fit. But at the end of the day, it is a turbo trainer. It needs to perform while I'm on the bike. So I'm gonna throw a cassette on it, put some kit on and get ready to give it a ride. I always forget with a turbo, you need a chain whip to get the cassette on as well as off. Otherwise you just end up turning the flywheel. There we go, nice and tight there. Perfectly installed. I did not realize how filthy that cassette was. My hands are pretty grotty now. So I'm gonna go wash my hands, throw some kit on and get the bike on the turbo to see just how well it performs. If you're no stranger to AliExpress, you'll know that the 11th of November is kind of China's Black Friday. And AliExpress obviously has got some crazy good discounts at the moment. Now, the normal retail price of this turbo is usually around $360, but there's some really aggressive coupon codes on the 11th. Plus, you can get extra cash back when shopping on AliExpress. And the way this works is there's sort of teams where different people on YouTube or Instagram or whatever can get their viewers to sign up. I'm gonna leave a link to mine in the description below, or you can scan the QR code on the screen right now to join my team and save even more money. And you can help to level up our team, not just by joining it, but by completing loads of challenges on the app. And the more people that complete the challenges and earn points, the higher the cashback rate for the whole team will be. So if you're spending $360 on a turbo, 5% cashback, you know, that's straight away $18 to get yourself another bike part, maybe even a cassette to go on the turbo. And they provided me with an exclusive coupon code, TOM35, which will give you £35 off the price of this turbo or any other AliExpress purchase over the value of £200, bringing the price down to just £250, meaning this is by far the cheapest turbo I have ever tried. Even cheaper than what an old wheel-on trainer used to cost, which to me, considering all the tech packed in this, is absolutely phenomenal. Oh, and just so you know, there are some more codes with different rates of discounts. However, they are only available for a limited period of time until December the 4th. So make sure you don't hesitate, get yourself signed up if you want to get this turbo or any other AliExpress products that I've featured lately on the channel. There we go, the bike's on the turbo, time to test ride. Talking specs then, as I mentioned before, the ThinkRider XXPRO uses a DC brushless motor to create resistance, rather than just purely relying on a huge heavy flywheel. It does feel pretty smooth. They claim it can simulate up to 25% gradient and 2,500 watts, which there is absolutely no way I can test the 2,500 watts claim, considering my peak sprint's probably about 1,000. They claim the classic plus or minus 1% power accuracy and 56 decibels of noise, which I have no clue what that means, but like with most direct drive turbos these days, you can barely hear it over your drivetrain and fan. They claim it weighs 18 kilos, and After carrying it into the garage and picking up the parcel earlier, I can tell you that sounds about right. And the Classic communicates over Bluetooth, ANT+, and the Pro can communicate via Wi-Fi as well, which is something I've never tried before on a turbo. It's compatible with both QR and through axles. I showed you the adapters earlier, and it can work with pretty much any bike that uses the standard HG3 hub. I'm now going to put it through my standard turbo test suite to check it lines up close enough with my other power meters. One thing I have noticed with the turbo though is it still does have that classic brushless motor feel, which is really, really smooth at high flywheel speeds. But if you're in erg mode and you're using the flywheel at an inappropriately low speed, it does have that jumpy sort of brushless motor feel, but easy resolve. Just change down your block a bit, make sure you're in a more appropriate gear. One thing I have noticed is it definitely has a very aggressive power smoothing algorithm, but fortunately that is something ThinkRider will allow you to turn off in the app. So if you prefer it, you can leave it on, but I'm glad they give you the choice to turn it off if you don't like it. Just jumped into the app and it was super easy to turn smoothing off. I don't really like it. I can see why people do. It makes the number look prettier on the screen, and actually I can see the benefit in an erg mode workout. You're not constantly thinking about, oh, these slight fluctuations in my power, when that's not the point. But I think for any sort of sim racing or anything on Zwift, you really should have that off. Also, while I was on there, I had a little look around the app, and there's loads of settings you can tweak. You can like adjust for the chain line and efficiency, or you know, if there was ever an issue with the turbo and it was consistently under or over reading, you can manually dial that in. I guess that means you probably could cheat on Zwift as well if you wanted to, but please don't do that. It ruins the fun for everyone. Right, now I've got to do 350 watts. Yeah, just watching the numbers now, it's definitely a lot more realistic, and he's fluctuating as I am fluctuating my watts ever so slightly. Also, the ramp up to 350 was really nice and smooth actually, unlike some turbos that feel like they just locked the brakes on. Right, I better shut up and keep going with this effort. For the free ride segment, I've got my trainer difficulty set to the max to give the turbo the best chance of recreating some hard gradients. Also, it did manage to hold 350 watts really well, despite smoothing being turned off. You know, it was fluctuating a little bit, but it was well within the sort of range I'm comfortable with. Sim mode now in a really high gear, really high flywheel speed, and you should be able to hear a little bit of a whining sound when it's trying to put the resistance down at a high flywheel speed. It's not particularly annoying or particularly loud, but I thought I'd better mention it. Yeah, definitely simulating them gradients well. Oh. I think that was a new PB for this year. Nearly cracked the 1,000 watt mark. Jeez. Oh. Pretty hard going. It's power accuracy and results time now, and I'm pleased to say the ThinkRider XXPRO passed my test with flying colours. First things first, in my initial Zone 4 test for 5 minutes, before I turned smoothing off, the ThinkRider averaged 308 watts, whilst the reference power meter on my bike, a Magine P515, read 306 watts. So really close there, and yeah, as I said, I had still got smoothing on the turbo at this point. Then after turning smoothing off, I did a 3-minute Zone 5 effort where the Magine read 347 watts compared to the ThinkRider Turbo's 346 watts. I followed that up with 5 minutes in slope mode with erg turned off, and I did a sort of a sweet spot kind of effort where my Magine read 272 watts and the ThinkRider 273 watts. So all three of them efforts are really within margin for error. And then onto the sprints, something I'm notoriously terrible at. The first thing I want to say is just how stable it felt. Like, you can see a bit of movement in the footage, but considering how uneven my garage floor is, and I think that shows in the watts I produced, on both the power meters I was recording on, that was actually a 15-second PB by quite a considerable margin. Speaking specific numbers then, the Magine on Sprint 1 averaged 860 and on Sprint 2 averaged 828 watts, compared to the ThinkRider Turbo averaging 845 on Sprint 1 and 810 on Sprint 2. Obviously the Turbo is a bit lower there, but on an absolute all-out sprint effort, you would expect the drivetrain losses to play a bigger part and give a turbo a slightly lower reading than a crank-based power meter. Also, on an effort so short at just 15 seconds, there can be a lot of inaccuracy caused by just the data recording on your Garmin's or on Zwift, since they only record at 1 Hertz or 1 data point per second. Overall though, the power accuracy is absolutely spot on, and I'm really happy to recommend it from a power accuracy perspective. Now this is actually quite a hard segment, the value comparison, because there's not really many other turbos in its same price class. The closest turbos I can think of are the Van Rysel D100 and the Sight Plus I checked out a few weeks ago. But when you use my discount code for the ThinkRider, both of them are significantly more expensive, and in the case of the Van Rysel, has a very limited feature set. The Sight Plus is quite similar in specs, but it does unfortunately cost quite considerably more. So I think the ThinkRider just wins out here. The only major feature this ThinkRider is lacking is Zwift virtual shifting, which at this price point, I think I really can excuse. And never say never, it might be something they can add with a software update down the line. Elite managed it with my Diretto, so I can't see why ThinkRider wouldn't be able to do the same. All in all, obviously I know AliExpress has sponsored me for this video, but I am so impressed with that turbo for the price. Now, is it going to be as good as a £1,000 turbo from one of the big name brands? Possibly not, but it's 250 quid. Like, I just can't get my head around how cheap that is compared to what turbos used to cost. When I bought my Elite Diretto, that was over £500, and that was an amazing deal at the time. If you enjoyed this video, get yourself subscribed down below. I've got plenty more gear I'm checking out over the next few weeks. And make sure you check out all the links and the QR code to the cashback team so you can save even more money next time you shop on AliExpress. But until then, I'll see you all in the next one.